Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. You're listening to my educational psychology capstone podcast. I'm your host Myra Siddiqui, and today we are diving into a topic on how we can translate big academic psychology theories into real-world daily practices. Specifically, today's episode will be exploring my game plan for applying these theories in my future 4th and 5th grade mild to moderate special ed classroom. When I think about some of the things that this course has taught me, I land to the point about how effective teaching has helped me realize that it's just so much more than just delivering the content. It's about understanding what we can do to help our students succeed. How can we help them understand the information over time and process it so they can make decisions independently by themselves slowly over time? Before we talk about strategies, we have to talk about who is sitting in those desks. Developmentally 4th and 5th graders in this case, typically ages 9 to 11, which fall right into Jean Piaget's category of concrete operational stage. So at this milestone, kids are becoming much more logical thinkers. They thrive on hands-on experiences, visual anchors, and concrete examples. But here's a reality check for a mild to moderate special ed classroom. Development isn't like a race over here where everyone is trying to speed up and reach the same end of the line. My future students will develop at different rates and require unique layers of support. For me, understanding the stage is what dictates my curriculum, my pacing, and how I build relationships. It's about creating a space where students feel safe taking big academic risks. So, how do we get them there? I've got 3 core theories in my teaching toolkit. Theory 1, Albert Bandura's social learning theory. Bandura's core idea is simple but yet powerful. Kids learn by watching and modeling. That's what we need to focus on. In my classroom, I won't just assign a task and hope for the best. I will explicitly model academic and social skills before asking my students to start doing things slowly, independently over time. Picture this. We're learning how to find the main idea of a tricky non-fiction passage. Instead of just giving them a worksheet, I'll do a think out loud. I'll read out loud and literally narrate my brain's thoughts process. Let's say I'm saying, this sentence keeps repeating. Let me underline that. My students, they see it, they hear it, and then we move to guided practice with visual supports and targeted feedback. This explicit modeling is like a game changer for students with IEPs and English language learners who need to hear that academic language modeled clearly to them. Theory 2, Lev Vygotsky and the ZPD, aka the Zone of Proximal Development. Now, ZPD is the sweet spot between what a student can do on their own and what they can achieve with that little help. As a SPED teacher, I refuse to focus on what my students cannot do. Instead, I'm looking at what they can do with the right scaffolding techniques and how can I help them build that independence over time. If we are writing an informational paragraph, let's say, I'm going to bring out those heavy-hitting scaffolds, like those graphic organizers, those sentence starters, and vocabulary banks. I came across a study called Creating Scaffolding to Affirm Students as Active Learners actually found that this kind of scaffolding transforms kids from passive listeners to active listeners, gradually leading them to independence. As they get confident, the idea is that the training wheels come off. Vygotsky also champions cooperative learning. I came across another great study where they talked about peer tutoring and scaffolding principles for inclusive teaching, highlighting how peer cooperative learning makes inclusive classrooms thrive. In my classroom, small groups partner work will be a daily routine. When a student with an IEP, an ELL student, and a gifted peer collaborate on a reading passage, they aren't just answering questions, they're sharing perspectives and teaching each other. Theory 3. Information processing theory. If there's one harsh truth from our textbook, it's this: students don't automatically remember everything we say to them right away. For information to stick, they have to pay attention, actively manipulate the data, and process it enough to move it from working memory into long-term memory. They have to build a personal connection with the content that's being introduced to them. I was personally fascinated by a study called Effectiveness of Information Processing Strategy Training on Academic Task Performance in Children with Learning Disabilities. The researchers here found that when you explicitly teach kids with learning disabilities how to process information, their academic performance skyrockets. This means my lessons will rely heavily on graphic organizers, repetition, and breaking big concepts down into bite-sized, digestible chunks. For instance, before a science lesson on ecosystems, we'll do a quick activity to activate their prior knowledge about plants and animals. This ties directly into levels of processing theory. True memory doesn't come from flashcards. It comes from deep processing, discussing the ideas, connecting them to personal experiences, applying them into real-world scenarios. Now, bringing this all together, I've broken these theories down one by one, but the real magic happens when they collide, when they come together. Imagine a 5th grade reading lesson. First, I use Bandura's theory by modeling the strategy through a think out loud. Next, I use Vygotsky by breaking the class into peer tutoring pairs with structured graphic organizers. Finally, I lean on information processing theory by having them connect the text to their own lives and chunking that information. It's not about picking one theory. It's about blending them again to build that independent learner to feel confident to succeed in achieving more goals day by day. Looking back, this course has completely flipped my perspective, if I'm being all honest. I used to think that teaching was just about, knowing your subject and just being able to clearly explain it to a big classroom. Now I know it's so much more complex. I've had to challenge my own assumptions that struggling students aren't capable of rigorous content. They are. They just need different pathways and intentional scaffolds. Accommodations aren't about lowering the bar. They're about giving everyone a fair shot at reaching it. I still have big questions like how to balance, a strict grade level standard with highly individualized IEP goals. But I know that becoming an effective teacher is a lifelong journey of reflection and collaboration. Ultimately, my philosophy is simple. Every single student can learn when given meaningful, supportful, helpful advice and encouragement in a safe environment. I want to be that intentional and effective teacher who drives my classroom with cognitive science, with the educational psychology techniques and theories we've learned about. I just don't want to follow the routine and, observations that I'm seeing and go based on that. Thanks for tuning into my capstone podcast. There's so much to learn and gain from the outside world, but I hope you enjoy this episode and wish you all the best of luck in your future goals.